Welcome back. Talking real estate here on a Monday and mixing in with football, my favorite things. Cory Brandt joins us, and again, we are mixing quality and experience here. Cory has closed over 20 transactions this year, hundreds over the last 12 years, and ranks in the top 10 for RE/MAX agents in the state, as well as a recipient of the prestigious RE/MAX Hall of Fame Award and Chairman Club Award. Welcome, Cory. How are you?
Doing good.
Quite the resume. I guess you got the quality and the experience, huh?
Yeah. But you know what really counts is what my clients think.
Yeah.
So, got to get that right, and all the rest of the stuff follows.
Yeah. So, when you think about that, you talk about having your clients appreciate you, I guess, is kind of, what do you go for? I mean, what's your goal with your clients?
Just take the best care of them I can, treat each transaction as if it were my own. They're looking for an end result, and sometimes they don't actually even know what they're looking for. I mean, perfect example is my wife and I, when we bought our house. I was an engineer, she was an engineer. We both had these checklists. We compared the checklists, and then I saw this house, and I'm like, yeah, it doesn't match anything on our checklist. So
the one you bought?
The one I bought, yeah. And so we completely gutted the place.
And from an engineer, too, engineers typically are checking the box, and there's not a lot of deviation.
Oh, yeah. It's first time she walked in it, she walked out, looked at me, and said, no way. So I sat up that night and drew the entire house up in CAD, then redrew it as it would be remodeled. And when she woke up in the morning, I'm like, here it is. And she goes, fine, I'll go look at it again.
Well, that's an interesting point because, people don't always find their dream house out there. It maybe isn't exactly as they want. There might be some fixes, quick fixes even, that people could do to make it more of the house they're looking for, right?
Right.
And you'd mentioned that, that's actually one of the ways that you help your buyers to find their dream home is by helping them maybe realize that it's not your dream home right now, but here's a few things that might get it closer.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, sometimes it's the dream neighborhood, but not the dream home. And sometimes, it's simple things like paint color or adding an arbor, giving the house some character. They can be really cheap, simple fixes. I had a neighbor that actually cut a hole in his kitchen wall and put a one-way mirror in so that he could have a view of the lake out of his kitchen. But when people were in his dining room, they didn't look back into his kitchen. That was cheap. That was a couple $100 and he was done. So made a huge difference in the feel and flow of his house.
Yeah, from what you're saying, even if you're in the dining room, the mirror reflects the water again.
Exactly.
What a deal.
Exactly.
Double view.
Yep.
Cory, so is it your background in engineering that you even talked about allows you to know, hey, we can knock out this wall or we can't? You can kind of assess something before they make a decision?
Yeah, that, and my first house was in Green Lake, and I just kind of went in and gutted it. I replumbed it, rewired it, really had no clue what I was doing. I was running back and forth.
Sounds safe.
Yeah, no. Actually, I sold it to a developer, and he leveled it, and it was a good day.
They're not going to burn anything down in the neighborhood or anything.
So I've since slowed down on my hammer swinging, and I hire the professionals to do it.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's good. That's exactly what we preach on our show is hire the professionals to get it done right. Why do people reach out to you? You talk about working with buyers, and you have this extensive background. You have lots of different awards. Why are people reaching out to you specifically? Because, you said it's all about your clients. What are you doing differently?
I think I'm vested, and it's not a financial vesting. I work to make sure that I do right by them, and they appreciate that. And because of that, they refer people to me. My business is a huge percentage of my business is referral. I'm glad I don't have to go knock on doors. I'm glad I don't have to go sit open houses to try and find the next client because I have friends and clients that call me. When the market tanked, my phone still rang. Now, granted, it didn't ring nearly as much as I would have liked, but
sure.
It's still, I had
There's
those
people
friends
saying, I can't believe I bought this house.
Yeah, well, there was that. Although I would tell you, I did warn people that I thought the market was going down, but I said, it'll go down 5%. It'll come back in a couple of years. Whoops.
Yeah. I don't think you were the only one to say that. So you talk about being vested. And I think that being vested is a lot more than just selling real estate because, sometimes, as you said, maybe it's not the right time to buy.
Right. And I've had that conversation. I've had, I go back to a client in Seattle that was gung-ho on a particular house and wanted to get a pre-inspection, and I walked through the house and I said, don't get a pre-inspection. And he argued with me, and I said, look, and I walked him around and showed him everything that was wrong with the house, and I basically said, let's just wait. And if we wait, the right house will come. This is not the right house. And, 3 months later, we got him the right house. So we had to have some patience, but it paid off in the end.
Is that kind of along the lines of helping people see the potential for, for the future a little bit? I mean, you're vested. Sometimes it's not the perfect house. So, there's that element of guiding somebody around the potholes for,
right,
the bad ones.
Yeah. And I've had clients that, I always tell them this is just my opinion. If you're in love with this house, then it's your house. You've got to make the call. I'm not the one living in it. So, but
you can draw some wicked CAD drawings to show them what it could look like, right?
Yeah, actually, that was probably one of the last CAD drawings I actually did. Now I just hand it all to an architect and scribble all over what they do.
There you go. So that potential for changes, I guess, not only comes in the potential for a different house to bring what somebody wants, but also for the potential in making some maybe inexpensive changes to the house that maybe does fit half the bill.
Yeah, exactly. Because a lot of what I see is folks moving out of Seattle to the east side because their kids are getting to a certain age. They want the particular schools and that type of thing. And a lot of times the budget that they have doesn't get them into the house or the neighborhood they want. So you've got to kind of finagle it and try and figure out how to make everything fit.
And how does that process look? How do you help somebody see potential for changes? Because there's people who kind of have that vision and can see it, and I have to imagine there's people who can't.
Oh yeah, there's a lot of people that can't. And I find that it's harder on the listing side because I'm not representing the buyer. I just had one up at Snoqualmie Pass, heated driveway. The agent told the buyer that there was a generator in the house, and it was the boiler for the driveway heating system. But so, I can't control everything. But on the buyer's side, you just get in there and help walk them through it. Sometimes I'll take them through another house that was done similar. The house I'm in is a mid-entry that we completely modified. So I've driven them by my house. I've taken them through and shown them what the potential is there. So, different ways.
And giving them a beer and like, hey, let's get this deal done, right? When people start to search for houses, we just talked a little bit about the selling part and how, the net money they're going to get is really such a determining factor in selling a house. But people also want to buy properties that will make a few dollars. Do you run into that?
I do. And it really depends on who the buyer is. I've got a buyer flying up from California this afternoon, and we're going specifically to look at some different properties that his entire end goal is to develop on these properties and make money. And frankly, he'll probably make pretty good money on them. We'll see. I'll know after this afternoon what he really thinks. But yeah, sometimes the buyers are after the bottom line. Whether it's being short platted, whether it's a remodel or whatever. And sometimes they just want a place to put their family. And frankly, I had a deal earlier this year. We got the house for over $100,000 less than value. We just got in there quick, made sure we got our offer accepted quickly, and had a couple backup offers after us, but they were too late.
We're here with Cory Brandt, RE/MAX Hall of Famer and Chairman Club Award winner. Cory, we just have a little bit of time before we do have to go to break, but when people, we've talked about it on our show, and it sounds to me like it's kind of similar. Some people are after it for the money. Some people want to buy a house and just get a good deal. But a good deal could also be, it's the house in the neighborhood that you want. And, it tends to be, when we talked about this last week, some people get so caught up in the financial piece that they forget, wait, this is like the school district I want. Our neighbors are our friends down the street. And sometimes does that have to kind of be reminded to some people who can get so caught up in the deal aspect?
Oh yeah, I've had some clients that have looked at absolutely awful houses that I knew they would end up working on for 3 years, and I'm like, your life is going to be pure hell. Just skip this one, go to the next one. I live in a neighborhood that has a community beach, so we know pretty much all of our neighbors, and that's a good tie-in to get to know your neighbors. There were a number of factors that played into, our purchase decision, but that was one of them. It was just something a little different where we knew the kids would be comfortable and we'd be comfortable with who they were around.
Yeah, and then I guess on the flip side, somebody who just finds the house that, you get people to pass, sometimes it's the house that you want because it has everything. It just might be a little bit more expensive than you thought.
Right. And that's where we call on guys like Ryan to say, hey, how do we finagle this loan?
Well, you know what? Let's ask Ryan. I think that's a good way to go.
Right.
Hey, Cory, thanks so much for joining us again. Cory Brandt, managing broker with RE/MAX Real Estate. When we come back, Ryan Leopold will join us, and we will talk about finagling maybe a little bit more out of a loan, but not necessarily the way that we were just talking about, although we might get into that, but more about when interest rates start rising like they are right now, how do you make sure that pre-approval letter that was written for you 30 days ago or 60 days ago is still good? We'll be back after this break.